The story begins with Talma cursed with bad luck. He escapes from a group of thugs after trying to stop them from harassing a girl. He encounters the girl from earlier, revealed to be a level 5 Esper, Mikoto. She demonstrates her power by using electromagnetism to fire projectiles, usually coins, at over 3 times the speed of sound, hence her nickname, the Railgun. To her shock, Talma emerges unscathed. The next day, he discovers a girl in a nun's outfit. He brings her inside and learns her name is Index. She explains she is being chased by a group called the Magic Cabal, which seeks the 103,000 grimoires she has. Talma is skeptical of her mentioning magic, but she insists magic is real. She points to her outfit, called the Walking Church, which can repel any attack. Talma says he also has a power of his own. His right hand can cancel any magical effect. When she doubts him, Talma uses it, causing her outfit to disintegrate. After biting Talma in embarrassment, Index mends her walking church. She decides to leave, since it might be dangerous if she stays any longer. Before she goes, she says his right hand also erases good luck, explaining his misfortune. Talma attends remedial classes with his friends, Aogami and Tsuchimikado, taught by their pint-sized teacher, Kamo. Talma wonders what Index is up to now. He later encounters Mikoto, upset that their fight was inconclusive. She tries getting his attention by sending an electric shock to the ground, damaging the security robots and nearby electronics. Talma is indifferent and lets her have the win from last night. Suddenly, the security robots restart and attack them, prompting them to run away. When Talma arrives home, he discovers Index surrounded by cleaning robots, badly injured. Suddenly, a mysterious man dressed up like Chris Angel appears, calling himself a magician. The magician says that the Walking Church ordinarily protects one from all harm, but because Talma destroyed it earlier, Index was injured. The magician, Steel, explains that he is here to retrieve Index, who has memorized the contents of over 103,000 magical grimoires. Steel uses his fire magic, but he is shocked to see that Talma is unharmed, and he realizes Talma can cancel magic. Steel summons Innocentius, which can regenerate its flames faster than Talma can erase them. Index suddenly speaks, explaining that the runes laid throughout the building are giving Innocentius strength. Talma evades Steel's fireball attack, and as he attempts to escape, he discovers several runes drawn on paper, taped throughout the hallway. After stumbling outside, he considers calling for help, but resolves to rescue Index on his own. Steel attempts to recover Index, but the sprinkler system activates, subduing his flames. As Talma confronts him, Steel is confident that mere water is not enough to douse Innocentius. But Talma points out that the water is not only washing away the paper seals but also the ink. Without his flames or Innocentius, Steel is defeated with one punch. Later, police investigate the fire while Mikoto looks on. Her friend, Kiroko, a member of Judgment, remarks that the fire was Esper-related. Talma scrambles for a way to heal Index's injuries, but since Espers cannot use magic, Talma carries her to Kamo's house, asking her to follow Index's instructions. However, Index tells Talma to leave, as his very presence is erasing the healing magic within her. As Talma leaves, a woman perched on a tower watches him. Index begins the magical ritual to heal her wounds. She creates a diagram of their room and establishes a link. Anything that happens to the diagram will also happen to the room, and vice versa. Index tells Kamo to imagine an angel, and one appears in the room, healing Index. Index's John's pen mode subsides, and her real personality returns, collapsing soon after. The next day, Kamo asks Talma what exactly Index is since she intends to report this incident. However, Talma, concerned for her well-being, asks her not to be involved. Kamo blushes and leaves to buy supplies for breakfast. Index wants Kamo to not be involved any further, as repeated use of magic by those ill-equipped to use it may have their minds broken. She tells Talma about her true nature. Her sect, the English Purist Church, has a special division called Necessarius, which was originally established to hunt down witches. However, since they believe using magic leads to impurity, they decided to place all that impurity in one spot, her. They fear that those who possess her grimoires will have the power to alter the world. Talma scolds her for keeping it a secret and reassures her that he will protect her. Meanwhile, Steel and Kanzaki watch them from afar. Steel observes that Index looks genuinely happy and wonders how much longer they have to keep destroying that happiness. When Kamo returns, she forgot everything she was supposed to ask. Later, Index and Talma walk together to the public baths, and she reveals she has no memory of her time prior to arriving in Japan, and that she sometimes loses her memories. Talma is upset on her behalf, and she bites him after he makes fun of her small stature. While trying to look for Index, Talma encounters Kanzaki, who uses a rune to isolate them. Kanzaki asks Talma to hand over Index. She uses her sword, Nanasen, to unleash cutting winds at Talma, which he is unable to erase with his hand. Talma tries charging at her again, but he sees ultra-thin wires all around him, revealing she is not a magic user. Kanzaki kicks him to the ground. Talma points out that she has yet to kill him, revealing that deep down, she is a good person. Kanzaki explains she is part of Necessarius, and that Index is her comrade, and if they do not recover her soon, she will die. Kanzaki explains that Index's perfect memorization causes her to uncontrollably stockpile huge amounts of information. Since 85% of her brain is dedicated to the grimoires, she is only able to utilize 15% of it normally. Eventually, her brain will explode due to the overload. Thus, they erase Index's memory every year, with the next one scheduled in 3 days. She asks him again to hand Index over, but Talma is still adamant that what they are doing is selfish and wrong. Kanzaki is furious, as she and Steel did everything they could to make memories with Index, but they realized the futility of the endeavor, and decided to pose as enemies instead to spare themselves the pain. Talma maintains they are running away without thinking of Index's well-being. Kuroko and Mikoto see the giant shard of metal caused by Talma and Kanzaki's battle. While Kuroko investigates it, Mikoto sees Index in the background. Talma awakens 3 days later with Index by his bedside. She apologizes for being unable to save him, and the best she could do was treat his wounds. Suddenly, Kamo opens their door. Kanzaki and Steel are there to retrieve Index. Index, unaware of the truth, gives herself up so they do not harm Talma. Kamo leaves Talma and Index alone. Earlier, Kanzaki and Steel said time has run out and they would return. They are giving him the evening to say his goodbyes. Talma receives a call from Kanzaki, who tells him the deadline is midnight. Talma asks if they can try and use science to fix Index's condition, but Kanzaki replies that he has no real evidence to support that it can, whereas their magic can guarantee Index's life. Regardless, Talma stubbornly claims he can still save Index. He spends the night researching and contacting facilities regarding memory loss. Though one answers, they point out that it is nearly midnight. Soon, Kanzaki and Steel enter the room. Steel yells at Talma to get out while he begins preparing the ritual. Talma insists on trying science to heal Index, but Steel thinks this is a waste of time. At Kanzaki's urging, Steel reluctantly allows Talma to spend his final moments with Index. Index shortly awakens, worried about the writings on the wall, but Talma reassures her everything is okay. However, Talma finds it peculiar that Kanzaki arrived at an exact 85/15 ratio regarding Index's memories. He finally contacts Kamo, who tells him that it is neurologically impossible for a brain to explode simply from information overload. He concludes that the church lied to Kanzaki and Steel about Index's condition, and the memory erasure is simply a way to keep them and her obedient. Talma discovers a rune on the inside of her mouth, and upon touching it, the church's spell is cancelled. Index jolts awake, causing an explosion that alerts Kanzaki and Steel. A biblically accurate Index enters self-preservation mode to protect the grimoires. Talma, Kanzaki, and Steel stare her down. Index unleashes a blast of light, St. George's Cathedral, which Talma defends against with his right hand. Kanzaki and Steel are confused that Index can use magic, and Talma reveals that the church has been lying to them. Talma convinces them both that they can help Index. Steel applies his runes to the wall, while Kanzaki uses Nanasen to force Index's beam upwards, inadvertently destroying the Orihime 1 satellite. Steel summons Innocentius, but it is swiftly destroyed. Talma dives in and dispels the church's magic within Index. However, a feather touches him and he collapses. A few days later, a doctor hands Index a letter addressed from Steel to Talma. She rips it open, revealing that after Steel and Kanzaki confronted the church regarding their lies, they backed off from Index. However, he and Kanzaki will gather the knowledge necessary before attempting to recover Index again. Index goes off to visit Talma, but just as the doctor warned, Talma is suffering from memory disintegration. His very brain cells were damaged. Index begins welling up in tears, but Talma says he was just joking, as he had used his right hand, Imagine Breaker, to remove the magic affecting his memories. In annoyance at being teased, Index bites him. When the doctor drops by, it is revealed that Talma truly has no memory of her before 2 weeks ago. He just didn't want to see her cry. Steel visits a man named Alestier, who tells him about a person called Deep Blood. It is revealed that Alestier implanted Imagine Breaker into Talma's right hand, believing him to be the perfect, unremarkable candidate. Steel is told to partner with Talma, but he remains concerned about deep blood, which implies the existence of vampires. 2 weeks have passed since Talma's accident. He sees Index looking at an ice cream advertisement, but she denies wanting any. It is revealed that Talma is still keeping his memory loss a secret. They encounter Tsuchimikado and Aogami, and after they make fun of Index's diminutive size, she angrily demands ice cream. At Macronal's, they encounter a shrine maiden who explains she is a magician who has wasted all her money on 100 yen hamburgers. Suddenly, she leaves with men in suits, whom she says are her prep teachers. On the way home, Index wants to bring home Sphinx, a stray cat. She and Talma argue about keeping it, but she senses runic magic and wanders off. Suddenly, Talma finds himself with Steel. After a brief fight, Talma manages to keep his memory loss a secret. Steel informs him of the Misawakram school, which has recently transformed into a religious cult. Aureolus, a powerful magician and descendant of Paracelsus, has returned, and he is targeting a girl imprisoned within the school, codenamed Deep Blood. Steel needs Talma's help to rescue Deep Blood, who is said to have the power to kill vampires. Talma cannot refuse, threatening that the church would take Index away otherwise. Later, Talma discovers that Index has smuggled in Sphinx, and he allows her to keep it. Outside, he sees Steel applying runes so that Innocentius can guard Index. Talma suggests that Steel likes Index, though he denies it. As they arrive at the school, Steel reveals that Aureolus is a powerful alchemist, with the ability to alter reality. When they head inside, they spot a suit of armor that Talma thinks is a robot. But upon closer inspection, it is a corpse, its blood still oozing out. Steel recognizes the knight as one of the 13 knights of the Roman Catholic Church, who were wiped out by Aurelios. Talma finds he can still contact Index and yells at her for eating his pudding. Steel comments on how close she and Talma are now. After entering a cafeteria, the students stand up in unison and begin using a spell, which Steel recognizes to be a replica of Gregorio's choir, a grand magical spell that requires 3,333 monks to power. During their escape, Steel pushes Talma down a flight of stairs. Talma encounters a girl whose body is torn by the magic spheres. Talma shields her from further harm, and Asa cuts down the remaining spheres. Meanwhile, Steel incinerates a few runes and encounters Aureolus. Asa treats the girl. Index tries to go looking for Talma, and she becomes suspicious upon seeing the magic runes outside the apartment. Asa explains she is remaining at the prep school to prevent attracting vampires, as the seal place prevents intruders. Vampires are just regular people, but they are drawn uncontrollably to her blood, and she is forced to kill them, and she is tired of killing. Thus, she bargained with Aureolus. He will cure her of her affliction in exchange for attracting a vampire, which he needs to fulfill an unknown goal. Aureolus appears and threatens to kill Talma, but Asa convinces him to spare his life, and instead, he wipes away his memories. Talma and Steel find themselves outside, with no memory of the past few hours. Talma nonchalantly touches his head, inadvertently undoing Aureolus' magic. He then punches Steel for abandoning him earlier, also undoing the magic. Index arrives at the prep school, where Aureolus commands her to sleep. Talma and Steel return to the prep school and find the remnants of the 13 knights channeling the Gregorio choir to bombard the school. To their horror, Aureolus repairs the school in an instant. Talma and Steel find Aureolus, Asa, and Index. Steel says Aureolus will fail in his objective and reveals that Aureolus was Index's partner 3 years ago. Aureolus reveals his plan to turn Index into a vampire, so that she will no longer suffer her memory wipes. Steel explains that Talma has already saved her using Imagine Breaker. Confronted by the knowledge that all his efforts were in vain, Aureolus laughs maniacally, and commands them to drop to the ground. Aureolus' magic is Ars Magna, which allows him to warp reality, but because it requires great concentration, he stabs himself with needles to attain inner peace, and when Asa tries intervening, she is killed. Asa recalls how she was forced to kill her entire family after they were transformed into vampires. While seeking a way to rid herself of this curse, she encountered Aureolus. Talma cancels out the effect on Asa, reviving her. Aureolus attempts to use his power several times, but realizes Imagine Breaker can cancel everything. Instead, he summons a gun that can shoot bullets faster than Talma can react, and he plans to kill Talma slowly. Steel asks why Aureolus did not simply command that Index be healed, and in retaliation, his flesh is ripped apart. Talma is suspicious, since if Aureolus truly has reality warping powers, he could have saved Index. Aureolus slices off Talma's arm, but is shocked to see him still standing. To his horror, none of his Ars Magna powers work. Talma realizes that Aureolus' power isn't to bend reality, but to bring his thoughts into reality. As Aureolus panics, Talma's missing arm transforms into a dragon. The next day, Talma is back at the hospital. Steele starts cutting him some apples, and remarks that Aureolus' face and identity were changed and that he was released. Steele leaves as Index enters the room. She reveals that her church has decided to take Asa under its wing. Sphinx jumps out of Index's dress and scratches Talma while Asa smiles. A girl resembling Mikoto attempts to assassinate a white-haired man, but instead, he pulls out an Uno reverse card. Talma's 2,000 yen bill is eaten by a vending machine. He encounters Mikoto, who kicks the machine, spilling out a drink. After learning what happened to him, she laughs and kicks the machine, which spews out 2,000 yen's worth of drinks. Unwilling to be an accomplice, Talma runs away. Mikoto catches up to him and gives him the cans. Hiroko discovers them and teases that Talma is Mikoto's boyfriend. Annoyed, Mikoto fires off an electric beam, but Kuroko teleports away. Suddenly, Mikoto's clone appears. Realizing something is amiss, Mikoto accompanies it. Later, Talma encounters Misaka, who volunteers to help carry home his cans. He runs into Meika, Tsuchimikoto's stepsister, who tells him that Index is very loud during the day. When they arrive, they see Index and Asa watching over Sphinx, suffering from fleas. Misaka fires off an electromagnetic pulse that kills only the fleas and leaves. The next day, Talma unenthusiastically attends remedial classes. Tomo reminds him that even the third-ranked level 5 Esper, Mikoto, was once a level 1. Talma encounters Mikoto, who talks about her loathing for the blimps that fly over Academy City, and her skepticism that Tree Diagram, a supercomputer that was supposedly on the Oriheim 1 satellite, exists. Afterwards, Talma bumps into Misaka and he helps her find a foster home for a cat. He offers to let her name it, and she wants to name it Dog or Tokugawa Yasu. While searching for pet care books, Misaka senses the white-haired boy from earlier, and she gently puts the cat down. She is tossed into an alley, and the man asks her who she thinks is the strongest in Academy City. The man, Accelerator, brutally beats down Misaka. He reveals he has the power to alter the vector flow of anything he touches. Talma sees the cat alone and wonders where Misaka has gone. He enters an alleyway and follows a trail of blood, and is horrified to discover Misaka's mangled body. He contacts the authorities, who lead him back into the now empty alleyway. Following the cat's cries, he ventures deeper inside and discovers Misaka seemingly alive and well. However, more and more Misakas appear, who say that they are all Misaka. Talma asks who they are exactly, and one of the Misakas explain that the girl he knew was Misaka 10,032, and they are military-grade androids using Misaka as a base, called Sisters. She reveals that they are part of an experiment, but she refuses to elaborate further. They then depart, leaving Talma thoroughly bewildered. Meanwhile, Asa and Kamo are having a barbecue party when Index shows up at their front door, and Asa reluctantly lets her in. Talma drops by the Takuwadai's girls' dorm, hoping to ask Mikoto about the Misakas. However, Kuroko informs her that Mikoto is still currently out, but lets him in anyway. She allows him to sit on her bed, as she is busy inhaling the scent of her beloved one-Samas sheets. Kuroko hears the headmistress approaching, and unable to teleport Talma out, she stuffs him underneath the bed. While there, Talma discovers several papers inside a stuffed bear and learns the true nature behind the experiment the Misakas were talking about. He tries searching for Mikoto and notices that the windmills are turning despite the absence of any wind. He realizes Mikoto must be nearby and follows the trail. Kamo demonstrates the Schrodinger's cat experiment using a box of chocolates to explain how Espers function, to replace the current reality with their own. Talma finds Mikoto on a bridge, brooding over her situation. He confronts her with the papers he found, which contained information about an experiment to elevate Accelerator into a fabled level 6 Esper by having him destroy 20,000 of Mikoto's clones. He shows her another map, revealed to be a list of research facilities she has covertly shut down on her own. He suggests that they take this to an international court since the manufacture of clones is banned, but Mikoto replies that the board has already consented to this experiment. Thus, she decides to defeat Accelerator, hoping to end the experiments, but Talma points out she is too weak to stop him. Her true plan is to fall in battle to force the scientists to reevaluate the feasibility of their experiment. However, Talma won't stand idly by, and she threatens him to back off. But Talma stands his ground, repeatedly taking electric blast after electric blast. But each time, he just barely survives. Talma says they can find a way to save everyone without anyone dying, but Makoto insists that her death is the easier route. However, Talma asks her if her clones would be happy with the way they were saved. Makoto warns Talma that her next attack will kill him for sure, and as he takes the full brunt of her electric shock, he stumbles back up. As she aims her arm again, she tearfully asks him to stop. As Talma staggers to his feet, he racks his brain for a way to save Makoto and her clones. What answer will he arrive at? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you never miss a future video. And until next time guys, take care.